I'm Braden,
I'm Callum.
and these are our top 30 albums of 2017.
In order.
As far as restrictions on our list, there are some albums on here that came out sort of recently that we haven't had a chance to put on our lists, like the new Brockhampton album, the new NERD album, the new Eminem album, and we are including EPs as well because we have a couple of EPs in here. Oh, last thing is we have two separate lists because we couldn't agree on one, so we just thought, hey, let's make our own and we'll talk about the albums in both. So that's what we did.
Let's get to it.
Cool. Okay, number 30, I have Code Orange with Forever.
At 30, I have 444 by Jay-Z.
At 29, I have Migos with Culture.
At 29, I have Utopia by Bjork.
At 28, Converge, The Dust in Us.
28, I have Plunge by Fever Ray.
At 27, Four Swords with Compassion.
At 27, I have Mr. Mellow by Washed Out.
26, Primitive Man with Caustic.
26, Yellow by Naomi Punk.
25, Lil Pump, self-titled.
25, A Crow Looked at Me by Mount Erie.
24, Kamasi Washington with Harmony of Difference.
24, damn, Kendrick Lamar.
23, I have Brockhampton with Saturation.
At 23, I have Big Fish Theory by Vince Staples.
22, The OCs with Orc.
At 22, I have Process by Sampha.
21, I believe my metal album of the year was Integrity with Howl for the Nighttime Shall Consume.
At 21, I have Steve Lacy's demo EP.
Number 20, I have Tyler the Creator with Flower Boy.
At 20, I have Anti-Socialites by Always.
19, Ambient Music Album of the Year, William Basinski with A Shadow in Time.
At 19, I had Sketches of Brunswick, one of my 3 albums by King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard.
At number 18, Young Thug and Carnage with their Young Martha EP.
At 18, I have Saturation 1 by Brockhampton.
At 17, Sampha with Process.
At 17, I had higher up on my list, Howling for the Nighttime Shall Consume by Integrity.
16, probably the biggest surprise for me this year, Offset, 21 Savage, and Metro Boomin with That Warning. Awesome little hip-hop hip-hop mixtape that you should listen to.
At 16, I had Control by SZA.
15, Death Grips with their extended mix, I guess, Steroids.
Yeah, at number 15, I had Dedicated to Bobby Jameson by Ariel Pink.
At number 14, one of the best singer-songwriter albums of the year, Julian Baker with Turn Out the Lights. If you like singer-songwriter music that's sort of minimal but very pretty, some really beautiful lyrics, check that album out for sure.
At 14, I have The OOZ by King Cruel, an album that's probably grown on me a lot more in the past few days, but yeah, great, we'll listen.
At number 13, a dense, challenging, long album, definitely the longest album on my list. It's Sun Kill Moon with Common as Light and Love Are Red Valleys of Blood. If you like singer-songwriter music that's really wordy, some really groovy, kind of almost hip-hop flavored instrumentals, but still very folky, definitely check that album out. Again, it's really long, it's pretty dense, but I think if you like your folk music dense, then you'll really find something to enjoy out of it.
At 13, I have Flower Boy by Tyler the Creator.
Yeah, you had it higher up than I did, but I mean, we both
True.
enjoyed that quite a bit. Obviously, one of the best rap albums of the year.
Could have been a lot higher if there weren't some gaps along the way.
No, I agree.
I just couldn't go back to, as singles at least.
Yeah, but it does have some of the best singles of the year for
Yeah.
sure. Like Who Dat Boy, Boredom was a great song as well.
Yeah.
I think that was also a single. Okay, number 12, one of the best, I guess the best R&B album of the year. It's SZA with Control. If you like R&B music, if you like some kind of alternative R&B, because there are some pretty unique instrumentals, some interesting kind of compositions on this album, then definitely check it out.
And it's the first album I've heard from her, so
Yeah.
it shows promise at least.
Yeah. No, it's a fantastic album.
At number 12, I had Flying Microtonal Banana by King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard, which is the second one I have from them on my list this year.
At number 11, punk album of the year, one of my favorite punk albums of the decade for sure. We have Idols with Brutalism, just a lot of really fiery, catchy, infectious punk tunes on this album. Especially the vocals. The vocals are super visceral, but again, there's something in the hooks that just keep me coming back to these songs. And I haven't been able to take my ears off it for a majority of the year, so definitely check that out.
At number 11, I had another rock album, Relatives in Descent by Proto-Martyr. It's the second album I've heard by them. Definitely an expanded sound that they have. Way better melodically, I found, than their last one.
Okay, we're in the top 10. Let's do it. At number 10, one of the best pop albums of the year, and again, another huge surprise. Didn't expect to like this as much as I did. We have Paramore with After Laughter, just a series of really awesome pop tunes, kind of pop rock songs. Some great, super catchy refrains. Really great playing, great instrumentals. Just all around a really fun album. Even though some of the lyrics, it's funny, some of the lyrics are kind of sad, a lot of them are, but the songs themselves just have this really upbeat and fun kind of characteristic to them that I love. So definitely check that out.
And that's one that I wish I had heard more, because I just heard it recently and it would be very high up on my list.
Yeah.
I was definitely surprised too, because if you've heard Paramore before, you might not expect a full-length project to be standout for the year.
Yeah, I didn't think I'd enjoy a Paramore album as much as I did, but there you go.
And then at number 10, I had You Will Regret by Ski Mask the Slump God. Another artist that I just discovered this year and was blown away, just right away, with that album at least. And then, with some other singles that he put out, just...
Yeah, he's had some of the best singles that have come out this year, and some of the best music videos. Yeah, check out his music videos, and they're pretty awesome. They're super fun. Okay, number 9, I have my back-to-back pop albums of the year, I guess, because my pop album of the year is Lorde with Melodrama. Not really any big surprise there. It's such a huge improvement on what she was doing on Pure Heroine. More mature, but still kind of has a youthful, millennial tinge to it, I guess you could say. Some really fantastically produced songs, some great ballads. Liability is one of the best singles of the year. So I guess if you haven't heard it, most of you probably have, but if you haven't heard it, get your ears on it. It's, again, my pop album of the year. So.
And at number 9, I had Saturation number 2 by Brockhampton, which was my favorite by Brockhampton. Found it was just the most cohesive, and most songs alone that I could go back to.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I agree. At number 8, we have the only album that we have put in the same position on our list. It's Perfume Genius with No Shape. This is a really beautiful album. The instrumentals on this album are just mind-blowing. There's so much, they're really dense, but they're very pretty. There's something very dreamy about them. There's they have a very kind of hazy quality a lot of the time.
There's this lack of geometry,
a little bit.
No shape.
Whoa. Number 7, Ariel Pink with Dedicated to Bobby Jameson. We both had this on our list. Callum had it a little bit lower. I have it a little bit higher. Regardless, it's a fantastic album. Again, from Ariel Pink. Fun, lo-fi, catchy, I guess pop and rock music.
Some of his best songs, I think, like Death Patrol.
Yeah, for sure some of his best songs land on this album.
And then at number 7, I had Pure Comedy by Father John Misty, which you have a bit higher, so we'll talk about that in a sec.
At number 6, again, not really any surprise, I have Kendrick Lamar with Damn. There's not really much else to say
Sort of a surprise.
There's not really much else I can say. Obviously, this is one of the biggest albums of the year, and it's just, I think, another fantastic album from Kendrick.
So then my number 6 was Murder of the Universe by King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard. My favorite of their 5 albums this year. It's just oh my god, a crazy 3-part album. Basically 3 albums by itself, and they just flow together so well.
Yeah, it's a pretty insane album. There are a lot of kind of experimental, some of their most experimental moments. I enjoyed the album. I didn't have it on my list. There's some spoken word stuff in there that was kind of a turn off for me.
Some spoken word with singing at the same time, and
Yeah.
then 2 drummers at the same time,
Yeah.
and then 2 rhythm guitars. Just
If you
Throttle.
like your rock music really unpredictable and energetic,
Yeah.
unique, definitely get your ears on that. Number 5, top 5, I have Jay-Z with 444. It was a huge album for Jay-Z this year. One of the best hip-hop albums of the year. Very personal, very stripped back. Definitely a huge change of pace from his last album, which I like to pretend doesn't exist.
yeah.
Yeah, it's just a fantastic kind of opus almost, kind of a testament to Jay-Z's career, but also, again, an album that's very personal, touches on a lot of personal issues. So yeah, check that out.
And then at number 5, I had Aromanticism by Moses Sumney. This album was just so emotional, but also, yeah, it was so hard to pick apart because it was like this new type of R&B with hip-hop. And I just kept going back to it and finding something new. Very, very promising young artist. This is the first album I've heard by him, and it's just so good. My favorite R&B one for sure.
Number 4, I have Fleet Foxes with Crack Up, which we will talk about in a second. Callum has it a little bit higher. So.
And then at number 4, I have Semper Femina by Laura Marling, an album that Brayden had showed me. Singer-songwriter song, or album I guess it would be labeled as. It's very, very empowering, the first word I can think of.
No, I agree. That is a good way to describe it. It's kind of stripped back. It's very airy sometimes, but Laura Marling has such like a commanding voice, and some of the instrumentals, especially the opening track, are actually very groovy.
Yeah.
And do have like a very linear kind of path to them. Yeah, it's a fantastic singer-songwriter album. Didn't quite crack my top 30 by the end of the year, just because there were some songs that I was like, I found myself, as I was listening to them more and more, kind of passing over them because they were a little too spacey. But still, like, there's some amazing songs on it. So yeah, get your ears on it. Okay, number 3, I have Mount Erie with A Crow Looked at Me. I'm not going to get too much into the, I guess, substance of this album. It's just a very personal, very sad account of the loss of a loved one, almost as if you were reading his diary, basically, Phil Elfram. So definitely check that out if you're looking for a very, very sparse, very stripped back, very emotionally impactful singer-songwriter album. Yeah.
And then at number 3, I had Fresh Air by Homeshake. I just started listening to Homeshake in the past year, and while he's most known for being a touring guitarist with Mac DeMarco, and there's sort of that sound that he carries along, adding some electronic sound, some R&B sound. So I think his 3rd album it just incorporates all those sounds so well, and it's just got such a good pace to it. Really, really good playback quality.
At number 2, my hip-hop album of the year, Brockhampton with Saturation 2. I found they improved on everything they had going for them in Saturation 1. It's more cohesive. The songs all have a very clear concept. Each, not really one member, like there's no one member kind of standing taller than the others.
Because Kevin Abstract leads a lot of the charge, but no one else is just sitting back.
Yeah, like they're like everyone kind of has their own place in the group, and it's very clear. There's like the hype man. They're very much like a modern day Wu-Tang, where each member has a very clear and distinct kind of personality. Yeah, like a distinct role in the group. And I think Saturation 2 exemplifies that perfectly. So yeah, that's my hip hop album of the year at number 2.
Number 2, I had Crack Up by Fleet Foxes, an album that I just keep returning to every time I need to listen to something that's folk. And I think what's most stand out about this in 2017 is just the transitions from song to song. Like, it's got that folk texture, but it's got this modern sound.
I think if there's one way that I could describe this album is, I mean, Helplessness Blues was a fantastic album, one of the best of that year. And this album, well, I'm not going to say if it's better or worse. I think it sounds like a band that took 6 years to come out with their next album.
Yeah.
And they really matured, and they really grew, and they decided to come through with a similar sound, but develop on it and kind of change it up to the point where there's some pretty experimental song structures. You know, they're much more linear. The instrumentals are a little bit more dense even than they were on Helplessness Blues, with some added electronics. And it's just, overall, it's just a fantastic album. So collectively it's the highest album we both put on our list.
Right.
So.
And it sounds like not more polished, but it's like there's more instrumentalists on it. So it sounds like more of an orchestra almost.
Okay, number 1. My number 1 album was an album we both had in our top 10. I have it at number 1. It's Father John Misty with Pure Comedy. This was probably the album I listened to the most this year. I kept coming back to it. There's over an hour of material on it, and some of the best songs of the year, including the opener, Pure Comedy. Just so many funny, tongue-in-cheek, kind of somber at the same time.
Yeah, like the satire that
very
goes along
somber
with the title,
songs.
really.
He's very funny, but he's also very self-aware. The instrumentals are beautifully assembled. The lyrics, again, they all have kind of a lot of them have a very clear concept. A lot of times it's, again, very humorous. So yeah, I just thought it was the most relevant album, I think, this year, because there's a lot of stuff that touches upon, you know, what's going
topical
on. Yeah,
themes
it's for sure very topical.
And then even by the end, like he does on a lot of his albums, just so much about himself and what he's going through. So it really starts with him displaying what he thinks about the world, and then it hitting himself.
Yeah,
by the end.
I see that.
Especially in like leaving LA.
Yeah, for sure.
And then at number 1, also an album that I've probably heard the most this year. Also most consecutively, like in a row, Steroids by Death Grips, which is, full title is Steroids, Crouching Tiger, Hidden Gabber EP. Just a whole new sound to Death Grips, but also one they've explored a bit, you know, once in a while on their other albums. And I was glad that this was a whole 24 minutes straight of them putting that sound to the test.
Yeah, it's very cohesive. It's super explosive, really, really, really visceral. Like, it's very raw, as Death Grips' music usually is, but there's also something very calculated because it's majority like electronic. It's a fantastic little EP, so definitely get your ears on it.
Yeah.
Okay, that's our list of the top 30 albums of 2017. If there's an album that you thought should be on this list and it wasn't, let us know. It's probably because we either didn't hear it or we hated it.
It's a good chance we hated it.
Yeah, again, yeah.
If it was Russ, we hated it.
But yeah, no, if there's an album, if there's an album that you thought should have been on the list that wasn't, just let us know, hit us up, tell us why you thought it was one of the best of the year. Maybe we actually haven't heard it and you'll be turning us on to something, or maybe we have heard it and we didn't like it and we can discuss. No, I don't know how to end these videos.
Tran.
I don't know. Bye.